He doesn't look amused. He looks very unhappy to be at this hit party.
I agree.
Man. Cheer up, dude.
Maybe if I jump and his ears fly.
he might happy up a little bit.
Probably.
Hey everyone, Alchemist Lion here, and we're in Stonewood. And I'm going to kick the dust off Stonewood Endurance one last time. And I say one last time because honestly, between Two Tile Tunnel and a few of the other things that I've explored, there isn't a lot more to say about it. But at the same time, there's been a lot of learning over the last year, and my last real Stonewood build that wasn't kind of gimmicky was over a year ago, and it was before crowd control. It still works because it's Stonewood, but at the same time, there's better ways to get it done, and things I want to use Stonewood for so that you can learn dynamics of the traps in the game to make the other regions a lot more easier, as well as just the regular missions. And that's what we're going to do today. So in this Stonewood, I've made it completely customizable. You'll notice it's all blank. It's your traps that you want. There are certain parameters that I'll go over, but it's a playground. It's a tool that you can test out different traps, and no matter what you put in there, you're going to get success. So let's take a look. So before we go further, we have to ask why Stonewood. Yeah, you get a banner and stuff, but is it really worth putting all this effort in? Battle Pass XP has finally made its way into the Endurance world. So you can now get 131,200 XP just by running this thing. So Stonewood Endurance is by far the easiest way to do that. Is it the way I would recommend somebody who has good stats and can get away with doing canny? Probably not. But Stonewood and Canny would be the first two places I would go for, just because they don't have UFO, and they're the easiest to set up to AFK. Stonewood especially. If you're just kind of somewhat into Save the World and only have a few traps or haven't leveled up enough, you can do a lot with Stonewood to be able to kind of rake in on some of this XP grind that you can put on here. But ultimately, you're still going to get the best return in Battle Royale. This would be mainly for people like me who really just don't like playing that. I'll do it for the weeklies, I'll do it for the daily XP, and I'll do it to just play around and have some fun, but it's really hard to grind that mode when you don't enjoy going toe-to-toe with somebody every other moment of your gameplay. And this is an alternative, aside from playing the regular missions, like playing the regular missions, again, better return than just doing this and setting up for 2.5 hours. But it's the ease. Endurance is so easy just to turn on and walk away, and you can collect the rewards 2.5 hours later. And that's the benefit. Like if I'm going out and like doing something, like going to school, going to work, going to sleep, I can put this on, and when I come back, I just gain myself basically 3 levels of Battle Royale on top of all the Save the World Endurance rewards that we already got before. And that's why if I was more seasoned, I would probably, not use Stonewood, I would hop into Canny. And then once you're kind of used to these dynamics, you can expand and go into Plankerton and Twine and equally collect on them. And the fun part is say you even go like halfway and only do 15 waves, you're still getting a collective amount of XP based off of how far into the Endurance you went. So you don't even have to complete the whole thing. So is it a great way to do it? I think so. Is it the best way? Probably not, but it's one of the most easiest ways, and the cap is ridiculous. You have to collect 1 million XP in a day, and running this, you'd have to do it 8 times. So that's almost a full 24 hours. It's, I think, 22 hours somebody calculated that you'd have to run this for in order to collect the maximum rewards. And you can have 4 people in on this with you. So this build works on the premise of kind of like a Mad Lib, where there's blanks that you fill in the gaps for. And there's 4 main pieces to that. So the first is big walls. Full walls like this. There's only 2 options. And those 2 options are broadsides or darts. I highly recommend the darts just because I think they're the better of the two traps, especially in the way that I have this tunnel set up. However, it is Stonewood. You will be able to get away with broadsides, you'll be able to see the range, and you'll be able to, play around and compare the two very easily. But that is, anytime you see a big wall in the tunnels, those are your two trap options. The next piece is the floor tile. So with the floor tiles, you're going to have a lot more variety than with the walls. And the floor tiles that I have here for this build, we use the floor spikes, the tar pit, the freeze trap, the retractables, and the flame grill. You'll notice that in this little thing here, I do have an anti-air. I have it sectioned off because the anti-airs are what I use for lobber shields. So once you put the roof on it, at the front of your tunnels, I'm going to suggest that you put at all the entrances at least 2 to 3 of these anti-airs just to make it run nicely. If you want, you can not put the anti-airs and make a lobber shield. That is up to you. That is a refinement piece. It's not actually part of the tunneling system, but yes, that is that. Then, you'll take a look, we have our ceilings. So for the ceilings, we have all 4 options available to us, and that is the drop trap, the ceiling electric field, the zapper, and then the gas trap. And essentially, once you get your tunnels filled out, because I don't have roofs on any of this, you basically choose what ceiling trap you want and just put that tile up to the height that you want within the tunnel system. And you have those 4 options. Then lastly, we have low walls and window walls, and they're kind of interchangeable in this. In all honesty, I don't use these at all. When I'm doing Stonewood especially, I really focus on these 3, and I kind of leave these blank. However, if your stats are low, if your durability is low, and you need the extra buffer, these traps will be able to help you out. And for those, they're kind of all here. So the low walls really have a few options. So we have the Dynamo and the Zapomax, and that's really your main damage piece to get extra damage in play. And if you have these low walls, the big walls in behind can be either of these. Now, you can also use spikes and just reinforce the build so that your pathing is more reinforced if you're finding things are banging or trying to go through. I don't, but at the same time, it is an option, it is a trap, and you can do it. So that is also part of the low wall category that can utilize both of these big wall traps. If you go to the window traps, you're really limited to just using darts. I say limited, it's really the option I would choose, but I do have to just clarify that. The broadsides will not do good through a window. You may see a cannonball occasionally stray through. That's kind of a one-off. It's not going to be consistent. But the window walls are a viable option through the tunnel. And you can use wall lights, sound walls, or you can close off it completely. You can even use dynamos on the window. If you're using dynamos like that, I would probably just stick to the low wall. It really doesn't make a difference aside from building health. But the way this pathing works, they shouldn't be breaking through that. Then you can pretty much just solidify the wall. And if you're solidifying the wall and you're taking it from a low wall, you obviously can't have any trap in behind, but you can then push or use broadsides in a more confined area. And again, all of these are variable options that you have to play with and explore kind of all the different traps in the build. And as I go through the tunnels, you'll see exactly what I mean. But those are the options for the low walls and window walls that you see throughout the build. And that is the foundation of this, is if you see a blank spot, you put one of those traps based off of what spot you're seeing that's blank within the tunnel system. If you do opt to use a launcher in place of a low wall, just make sure you're pushing them away from the objective and not towards. Now, I did say there's a stipulation, and the stipulation is this, that at any point in your tunnel, you want to have at least one trap that will snare, stagger, freeze, or stun the husks. And there is 7 traps that you can do to accomplish that. So at every point in your tile, you have to have one of these 7 traps in play. And as long as you do that, I am almost going to guarantee you will have success in this, no matter what your stats. There are workarounds if you're having struggles still, and we'll cover that kind of towards the end. But the traps that you want to have in play are the drop trap. For the ceilings, that is your main tool that would be used to stagger husks, and it's really effective. Like I said, in Stonewood you can get away with using drop traps and be very successful in doing so. The other traps, we have the low wall traps. There's 3 of them that we can utilize in those areas, and we have the wall lights, the sound walls, and the wall launcher. And again, you only need one of these traps within a tile area, and you have the flexibility to choose any of them. And then the last 3 are in our floors, and these are the floor spikes, the tar pit, and the freeze trap. And again, any one of these will work in play when you're building your tunnel system. And that is the, I guess, foundation to how this build will operate and work, and how you can customize. As long as you're following the template and following that one stipulation, I almost, as I said, guarantee you will not have any struggles. I have tested this build multiple times with multiple different traps in multiple different AFK spots. I was in all 4 corners, I was in the middle, I was behind the soccer field, kind of down to the end, and literally running around everywhere and testing all the areas. So everything is covered. There's no stone left unturned. And yeah, we will take a look now at the pathing for each of these amps. The only other stipulation I would say is that you want to have at least legendary traps at level 25 to open up that 6th perk option, so that you have either increased health, repair, or some extra durability added to your traps to make this really work. Can you get away with traps being less? Probably. I just don't want to guarantee it. Now, if you're wanting to try to perk this out a little properly, even though I'm saying you don't really have to, you're looking for more durability based at spawn, I would say you're going into like a mild reload and damage in the middle, and then at the end you just want kind of like all damage, all reload, quick turnaround, because not a lot is actually going to get back there. But that's just kind of a general term that I usually use. I find if you have a one of each setting for your traps, so you know, a damage, a crit rating, crit damage, reload, durability, you can pretty much universally use those throughout the builds and pretty safe. We are going to start at home base, and what I'll do is I'm just going to do a walkthrough of all the pathing and tunneling. I'm not going to cover how the block off works. I've already kind of covered that in my block off and pathing videos, which I will link. I'll link all the trap videos I have. I'll link anything relevant, as well as a lot of the other Stonewood endurances I've built for people who might not want to utilize this, but do something different. At the same time, I'll also be linking Mitch Rob's 2x1 video, because that's really the basis when you're doing pathing and making sure the husks are walking in that kind of Goldilocks zone that I'm really utilizing here. The 2x1 system is the foundation to all really good concentrated damage builds. It's how you damage in Twine and Canny, and we're taking those elements and applying them to Stonewood, so you get this really overpowered base that doesn't really matter what traps you use in this region. Where when you get to Canny and Twine, it really does. But this is a great playground to discover it. All I'm going to do with this walkthrough, though, is show you the pathing and show you it. Everything is all edited and cleaned up, so it should be very easy to see. I just want to make sure I hit all the structures so you know exactly what to build where. But if you want to know the dynamics, check the description, check out some of those links, because there's a lot of good information that I've already kind of covered on this. But yes, let's try to speed this up so it's not an hour-long video, and just kind of cover the basics of the pathing. And so with that, what I'll do is I will just start hopping through. And it's really focusing on that left path, center path, right path, and really making sure that all areas are covered, so that no matter where you're standing, the husks aren't going to be damaging anything. And taking all paths into consideration. So we have the right path here. And then we have that center path. And then that left path for home base. And you'll notice that all the spaces, there's no more than 3 tiles at a time, and that's because we're really just trying to maximize the damage output, and that is the range of the big wall traps. So we're keeping everything within that kind of range confinement. And that is essentially home basis pathing. Like I said, I'm really trying to cover it, get some good aerials of it, so that you know. And then we're basically just going to move south, and I'm going to go around. So you get this like southeast core amp. So there's 4 core amps, and then to the south you have your flex amps, 1, and then 2 in the middle, and then 3 down by the quarry. So we're just going to be going now to that southeast amp in the main 4 quadrant area. And again, we have the left, or the right side I should say, right here. And it's connected right to the home base side. And it's going this way. And dips down here. We have a little kill box area right here, because some husks will try to come right in this way. As soon as they start dying, though, they kind of divert over. But we have that there. Again, if you wanted to, you could probably open this up. Again, the pathing is manipulable. This is the pathing that I had work for the floor spikes. And if it can work for floor spikes alone, it can work with all the other trap dynamics in play. So this is probably why it works, is that I can make it work with base and floor spikes, so you should be able to make it work with all your traps. And then we have our main center path, which, because there's that natural terrain in the way, they all kind of divert over, and then funny enough, they'll kind of converge with that left path over here. And we have a lot of this blocked off for numerous reasons, the multiple directions and stuff, but it's all just that diagonal line work. Granted, some of this isn't actually blocking, like it's not all full block off, because, like for example, husks can, walk through that type thing, but it's all that diagonal lining is what we're doing to make sure they push one way or the other. And they all kind of funnel in through here. And some of this stuff, like this low wall right here, it's mainly to hold up the builds right now where I don't have a roof over top. Some of those can be taken away. And these cones work because there is uneven terrain and a dip. So it is kind of like walls will do horizontal block off. These cones are really good for adding some extra vertical block off, so that husks aren't just going to break through the floor and try to sneak underneath the traps. And they all go this way. And again, no more than 3 tiles in a path, and no matter where they are once they're in the tunneling system, they're generally getting hit with as much damage as possible. But that is the east spawn here. Now we're going to go over to the south. And so you'll notice here on the left, this is what all the block off was for. They will sometimes spawn up in here too and kind of clear out some of this block off. And the main thing is I'm just trying to get them to drop down and join the husks in the middle. And so the middle path is really the main path on this amp that I really focused on. And so again, they will go in here and try and again, no more than 3 tiles of pathing at any point. And then there's a lot of ramps here. So it was using those to really maneuver the husks around and get as much damage in that pathing as possible. And then the left side, again, it's all just blocked off. Everything is set up so that they don't want to walk up this way. I did not want them to go through up to here. And so you'll see I really made that point known. They really don't go this way. Is it a little overkill? Possibly, but in Stonewood you can do that, so why not? Why not? But it looks pretty clean. Like I said, it's all lowered down, so you can really just see what I've done. And again, this one, it's all this center pathing. And then right to the end here, so they don't break through this wall and skip this last tile, that's why we have these little, the floor edit and the wall edit, just to kind of push them around. These little wall edits are a good way to kind of ensure that they stick to your pathing, as long as they're put in certain areas to kind of push them down. Some are a little unnecessary, but I like to be safe. And so we kind of have it all in play like that, to kind of get them to go exactly where I want them to be in that tile space. And really, that's it for this amp. So from the southeast, we're going to move to the southwest. And from the south spawn area, if you look at the right side, they like to kind of negate or navigate over this side. And you'll notice if they walk up here, they're just going to hit this area, which they're not going to want to. They're going to want to go through here. And so we let them go through this tunnel, and we kind of just stagger them around. I really like when they go this way, because there's a lot of damage you can get them hit with before they actually merge in with the normal tunnel. Then the normal pathing that we take them on is still kind of to the right. And I get them all to go this way and up these ramps. Now, because this is a rampy area, it's all based off of the ramp strategies, which is another good thing about this build and in Stonewood, is you can kind of see the different terrain and how you would navigate it. So we're really utilizing the low walls and then the back walls to get our damage in, because we don't have a lot of flexibility to move them around and kind of hit them with the front and back assault of darts, as well as the sides. So we're really using the side attack and letting them go a straight path for these ramps. But because the elevation changes, you still get that back dart, so you're still getting that 3 hit. And then once they get up here, we're just pushing them over a little more and making sure they're not just going to break through that area right here. And so they get hit with a few extra pieces of damage before they have access to kind of walk to the amp, which they'll never make it up here. It's just, that's how we have it set up. And so where I have the right all opened up here, I really closed off the center and the left. I did not want them to go up this way, so it's all sectioned off. Again, I have the big walls here because if they do happen to go through, you just want a little, protection. I would suggest the darts or broadsides there. It is 2 tiles, so I did allow it for the darts to go through these windows and do something there. But like I said, it is customizable. You can take the windows away and do low walls and do something fun with broadsides there too. If they happen to break through, say for example you picked the worst traps and it made them want to aggro, and they break through all of this and get up to where the amp is, I still have a kill box area set up here, which again, you'd be putting ramps on or ceilings on. Anytime you see a ramp like this, usually what happens is you'd be covering it up as well, unless it's an actual direct path, because the ceilings aren't added yet. I took all the ceilings off so you can see it opened up. But anywhere you see stuff like this, like floor tiles, you know there's going to be a roof above it. This one, obviously, you couldn't do 3 tile high, but you do have the flexibility to even do ceiling electric fields if you wanted to. But yeah, so if they manage to break through this, which I have never seen it happen, there's still a fail-safe in play to keep you safe. But the main thing is, as I said, I'm just trying to take them up this path here. This is all I really needed to get work. Now, in my spike video, I did have a whole system set up here to ensure that they're getting more things added. I haven't found I needed that. But in all these builds, you have the ability to extend the trap tunnels towards the amp. This is my strategy to keep the amps blank. You don't need to do that. Once we close everything off, the ceilings, my whole thing, and you'll see it in a lot of the videos of my completions of this, is I had a whole wall system set up and ceilings covering the amp. You don't have to do that, but that is kind of what I recommend. And you can add you can add zappers or anything at the back end to really, you know, add some extra damage. At the same time, you can also add spawn trapping and get a similar effect of getting some extra damage in if this ramp just isn't enough for you. But with it being Stonewood and what I've seen, it really should be. Then we're going to move over here to the west side. And the first thing I'll say is that you do want to make sure, because there is a spawn up here that happens, you want to make sure that you have this part up here covered. And again, because you see floors here, know that you also want to have ceilings. I don't have them added because right now it's all just showing the build and the pathing. But this is how I have it all blocked off back here too, so that any husk that spawns up there is going to drop down here. And that's kind of how I deal with that right side spawn up there. This is the main center path, and this is the path that I really want the husks to go on this amp, so I take them up here. I don't have a low wall here because husks that fall off from up here might land in this spot, and I want them to have a clear path. Normally though, there would be a low wall right there, but there isn't. And so they walk this path, and again, no more than 3 tiles in a line, and then they divert around. I have this here because they do like to sometimes smash this and just go straight for the app here, and I want them to not do that. So I have a low wall here, a big wall, or not a low wall, an edited floor, a big wall, and an edited floor, and that will give them enough restraint to make them divert around. And then this left side, I have it all blocked off, and what I do is I just add a little kill stuff here. In my build I had darts, and that was all I needed. I didn't need to utilize these low walls for anything, although you definitely can. And if you notice things are breaking, you can always add like a ceiling and do more of like the side low walls and just utilize this as a little kill box. But I haven't needed to do that. This is working just fine for me. And then up here, we just kind of have diagonal pathing block off. It's more just the aesthetics of it all. I don't know if you need all of that, but it works. And so this is what I've been using. And then we're going to go over to the northwest amp. And this only has the one direction. That being said, it does get hit a lot, so I really wanted to maximize the output here. So you'll notice we start right from the bottom, pretty close to spawn, and so we'll go over to this right side here. We have a lot of this area blocked off just so husks don't walk up in here. If they do manage to just come over to this side and then drop down because they got through all this portion, and they drop down here, I do have a little kill box area. Again, anytime you see stuff like that, you do put a roof over. Oops. A roof overhead, like so. But their main spot wouldn't be to go down there. It's going to be to go through the actual tunnel. So they come through here, and they get up to this ramp. Again, we're just trying to maximize the damage there. And then they kind of go into our normal tunnel. And this connects in with the center path. The center path is just straight up this ramp. And we're letting them come up. I do have the floors knocked off here just because they will just break them. So I found there wasn't really a need to have them down. And then they will usually divert this way. And you'll just see how I have it pathed and how I'm getting them to push over that much. And then on this left side over here, if they come up here, it's basically just taking them to a little kill box area. And if they do sap in to survive and stuff, they generally just try to path down this way, but they usually pretty much die. Anything that comes up this ramp, it's usually the end of it. And this is the main pathing area here. Now you'll notice this is a big stretch, but it's because I already did a lot to push them around. If I got them to go more here, I found it just aggroed them. So my whole thing was to try to keep that clear path. They can see the amp, so they're more motivated to go around and keep going. So this is one of the few exceptions. I only have 3 tiles of the floors, but because of the ramp here and all that, if I put like a build there, they just go for it. I found this is the best way. It is, again, completely customizable, so if you find better pathing, use it. Lastly, we have our Flex amp. Now, I have Flex, I call it Flex 1. It's the one that's to the southeast. There is one that's in the center south, and then one to the southwest for Flex 2 and 3. It's just this one was, in my eyes, the best one to select, so I picked it. The main thing with Flex is it has tornado and it has hot spots. So floor tiles and ceiling tiles close to the amp are almost redundant. If you wanted to, say you're having troubles, you can add more walls and stuff and you won't have any issues. So you can expand this damage quite nicely. I just haven't needed to. And the reason for that is I kind of stretch. So like I said in my pathing videos, you can stretch that Goldilocks zone and go closer to spawn. It takes a little more effort. And I put a lot of effort into this. It was tough doing a floor spike only challenge when Tornado wipes out any floor spikes you put basically within 5 tiles of the amp. So there was a little innovation used in making this. So we're very close to spawn. Like insanely close. I think I have one on the south side where you can see it's right next to it. So this is pushing it as far as possible to get the most damage in play. And this is what I mean. You can expand these tunnels, you can add spawn trapping, you can get amp damage, like you can get damage traps around the amp, but I'm really just focusing in on that Goldilocks area. And all we're doing is pushing this towards spawn as close as possible. So when we have this side, you'll see the pathing, and how I have it set up is I'm really trying to take them as far away and around as possible and getting them with as much damage as I can humanly get into play. And so when we go down here, now if we take a look from the spawn here on this east side, if we take a look on the right, you'll notice I have some old school block off here. I have not changed this. I just kind of kept this more as a relic. You probably don't need to do it exactly like this. This is what I had working. And I had floor spikes here, and that was the only trap I put over this side to make them not want to walk this way. You probably add darts here if you wanted to, but they really don't want to walk that way. If anything, if you're AFK, and say you're AFK down towards home base or whatever, sometimes husks will kind of walk over, and that's why we have all these little kill boxes anytime there's a ramp. And again, anytime there's like a box like this with a floor, you can bet that there's going to be a ceiling up top there that you also want to be adding in. But anytime there's a ramp, and there's a few, like there's 3 of them going down this chain that I have set up just to stop any random assassin husks from coming down this way. Because one of the AFK spots I tried out was down in this corner below the soccer field to the south, or to the northeast I should say. And I just have it set up so if I'm AFKing in here, anything that tries to come get me is going to get pushed off the edge. And then they've never come from the soccer field, but if they did, I also have it here. And this was just a little AFK spot I was playing with, but this is just one of the many. I also did one up over there. Basically the 4 corners, the center, anywhere I could. I really tested this out. And so that's why we have those pieces there to cover that right side of the flex amp, as well as like the home base stuff, but you don't really have to have the kill boxes for that. That's what I use those so they don't avoid me, the launchers. I did that there so they get pushed down if they try to get me. That was just a fun little like play thing. It's not actually part of the build, but I did account any AFK spot, anywhere you want to stand, this should take care of it, especially if everything's trapped out like I said it should be. The main thing they're going to walk into is through this center path. And again, I'm trying to get them to really maneuver around and get hit by as much damage as possible here as they're pushing their way through to this main path. And then on the left side of things, you know, left center, we have this area which I do have blocked off. And instead I'm pushing them and trying to connect this left side to the center pathing. and get them up here. And then here I have all the walls as far away as possible just to make sure that everything's pathing and we're getting them hit with as much as they can. I really like when they come down this side because there's a lot of extra damage here. And again, window walls, low walls, they're all interchangeable. If you want to avoid or ignore the big walls in the back and do areas where you do broadside damage, like kind of right here, that has also been thought of and incorporated when doing this. And they go up here and again, stick to the path. And you'll just notice all the line work, everything in play to make this happen. And then we go to the south spawn, and this one is a little more intense. This one took a lot to clean up, and even then it still looks like a lot. But like I said, it is right next to spawn, and we've really maximized the damage here, just because hot spots and the tornado can really make this a challenge. And so we're just utilizing the terrains and everything we have available to us. And if you have the other amps, just look at how I've done the template. Like, look, if you see an area, go to one of the other spots in Stonewood that kind of resemble that and see how I managed it. Because it's very straightforward. Once you kind of get the grasp of this, it's very easy to trap. And so they come up here, and the first thing is this floor actually will make them not want to go any further because this ramp is a little glitched. So when they get to this spot, they're just going to start banging on the floor, and I want them to do that. It's buying me time. That's why I have this wall here too, because they really want to go this path. This path is their main path they want to go up, and they want to kind of divert and go up this ramp. But we've kind of have it all blocked off. I have everything sectioned off and blocked off to make them not go that way, and instead I want them to go up this way. This is a fake ramp, and anytime you have fake ramps, I would recommend putting no damage in this. I actually put a heal pad on this when I had it set up normally, just so that it's healing if anything breaks it, because as soon as this breaks, they're going to try to break through and go up this ramp, which we do have fail safes for. It's better if they don't. So I find having that healing pad here really helps with that, but it takes them a long time to get there. While a few husks are breaking this, most are seeing that that is not a viable way to go, and they're going to let those little crew of demolishers go at it, and instead they're going to divert this way and try to go this path. And this is where the majority of damage, like, I don't even know how I managed to get so much pathing in here, but there is a lot, and there's nothing going to get through it. It is very overkill. This whole base is overkill. Again, 2-tile tunnel is probably the best for an underbuild in Stonewood that I've ever seen. This is, again, for people who can't get away with the 2-tile tunnel. And this is a solid build that, I don't know. It's pretty deadly. It is pretty deadly. I'd never thought I'd say that perks and traps don't matter. But in Stonewood, if you have the right pathing, you really can get away with a lot. And I've said that a lot before, and I'm going to say it now, and this kind of shows it. But again, you can try different combinations out and see the results come to fruition, and really get a sense of what traps are good for you. Ooh. So we have this pathing here, pushing them along, and again, like things like this, we have the 2 tiles so that they're really getting pushed and maneuvering back around. So 2 tiles worth of the block off, including floors and low walls to push them over, the 2 tiles. And then we're just doing the 1 tile worth of block off, so the 3 walls there, the 3 lines, to get them to move over an extra tile. And that gets them to go all the way around here. But now, say they're done there, or they have broken through this. Most will stop going that path, and they'll divert around. There's still going to be a few, especially the ones that spawn all the way over here. Those ones are going to always go this way. But the majority of husks, once that floor and wall is broken, they're going to go this way. And again, we do the 3 tiles, and then we divert them over, and I try to get them up this fake path and this platform, and you'll notice it's kind of hovering over this ridge area, which, by the way, when you're doing your roofs, you want to cover. This is all part of it. So this counts as like the block off for the top part here. And so once you kind of cover all your trapping area, this area also you want to cover. It just, I'm again uncovering it so you see everything. But yeah, that definitely does get covered. I just wanted to show you where things are at so you really see how this is built. But I did want to point that out, that that does need to be covered when you're doing the ceilings. Just like the ramps. So like up here with this ramp, anywhere you see this kind of stuff, you want that. Obviously not where they're pathing. You don't want to block their path. Ooh. So hard to play when you're first person. So you don't want to block their pathing if it's a pathing spot, but anywhere that there's block off, you definitely want that. I'm keeping everything open so that you have the full ability to see what's taking place within the build. Once they get up here, if they ever got up here, they never do. This is just kind of ties in with that other side. This is just the block off part. And I'm really just, if they do manage to try to get up this path, I'm still hitting them with damage over there. And still covering my bases, because hotspots will clear out some of this. But again, on that hovering platform, they'll walk around and go this way and up. If this ends up breaking, they'll try to break through here. And again, you'll have ceilings kind of all the way across and going up here too. Just as a fail-safe. But through here, oh, I still even have a dart here that I haven't broken. But yeah, even through here, they'll get up to this spot and just try to go across this way. Like so. And then for the left side of this spawn, I pretty much have it all blocked off. Again, on the ramps, we're definitely looking at covering that with roofs to add extra to the block off, but essentially they're just being stopped from going up this way altogether. And then if they happen to kind of go all the way around to this point and try to go up this way, we have a little kill box, which again you'd be putting roofs over, so that anything that does walk this way just dies. And then over here we have it blocked off. I still haven't even cleared this one off, but you'll notice this is the ceilings I used here. But really, this is what it would look like if I didn't have all the ceilings and stuff there. And again, we're just blocking this terrain off, so they're not going that way at all. And this is mainly, again, I played with different AFK spots. So if you're all the way over into that corner up over there, you want to make sure to have something right here to cover it. You can even probably do a kill box here and equally be as good. But that is Flex 1. And get out of first person mode there now. But that is the build. That is all the amps. Again, you want to be adding the ceilings in. This isn't a grounded base like I did with Plankerton. You want to have ceilings. I recommend just sticking with the 1 tile high and using zappers or gas traps or something like that. But if you're using the drop traps, the key thing is just to make sure that with the anti-airs, you're not putting them in the same tile. That will glitch out the game. For some reason, the coding on those things do not work together. Not something I would combo, but you definitely want to have a lobber shield, or you want to do the anti-airs like I'm do in the 2 tile tunnel. Anywhere there's an opening, really, 1 or 2 anti-airs. I find 3 really detract husks from throwing. So anywhere you're noticing that there might be a throwable spot, having 3 anti-airs lined up will usually stop it. And then what I do is like a 3 that I break for like 5 tiles, and then I do 3 more. Then I break for a few tiles, and then I do 3 more. And I do them on top of, again, I just do the single tile height. But this, again, is a fully customizable build to your liking. If you wanted to, you don't need anti-airs. You can completely do a lobber shield and get equal effect. But that is the build. It's really concentrating that, as I said, in that Goldilocks zone. If you need it to, you can definitely expand the damage towards the amp as well as out into spawn, but you really shouldn't have to. At the same time, you want to have something covering your amps. You do not want to just have them bare like this, unless you want to deal with some extra challenges of some added lobbers and flingers. It's just a good practice to have them covered. I do play with having them open at times, and I highly recommend you playing with it if you want to try, but for the build, you'll notice that in a lot of my completion videos, I had a covering with the heel pads purely for aesthetics. How you do your amp designs is up to you. That's fully your choice. The main part is this tunnel. You do these tunnelings, you will have success. No matter what traps you utilize, as long as you follow the stipulation that I gave. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this information helps. I really wanted to do one final Stonewood to really just seal it off. So this is it. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day, and happy gaming. Well, now that that's all out of the way, time to trap this up in all these weird combos and do a 30-wave run on this. I mean, they're not going to get past that first tile, but you still have all this tiles in the background for the later waves. This is more just to show you. This is an extension from the pathing videos, but looking at it from an endurance perspective, especially in Stonewood now that there is some viability to run it. And no matter what trap combination we throw at any of these amps, we're going to get a very similar result purely because of how low health the husks really are. First wave is going to be really tough to see this because virtually the first tile they're all just going to die. But the key is as they progress later and later, it's still doing the same thing. It's clearing them out super fast because the pathing, it's open, it's direct, and it follows the protocols of alternating, you know, kind of staggering the traps and hitting them from all angles as they go through. Like I said, the same strategy you use for endurance, you can use for storm shields, you can use for regular missions, Frost Knight, anything that requires trapping. It's really the best method.